Build smart, move fast, get the edge at last. This is the Catalyst.
And welcome to The Catalyst, another podcast brought to you by the Long Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. My name is Stuart Takehara. I'm the Vice President of Membership here at the Chamber. I'm so excited because today we are going to be telling a great story about someone who not only has come up through the ranks of a larger architecture firm, but actually said, I'm going to do this in Long Beach. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to The Catalyst, Jenna Markley. She is the principal from BRR Architecture. Jenna, welcome to The Catalyst.
Hi, Stuart. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I love when we first talked and you were kind of telling me about your story and about what you do here in Long Beach. I was like, oh my gosh, people need to hear this. You have really kind of created something down here in Long Beach and up what you were doing before. So before we get into all that, let's start with you. What is BRR Architecture? What's your background? What's your title? And let's kind of just start from there.
Okay, sounds good. I'm the principal in charge of our Long Beach office. It is our newest office to the BRR group. We have 10 offices across the country. We started out in Kansas City as a small retail and grocery design firm and kind of kept growing and expanding through relationships with national clients. I was originally in our San Francisco office, and I was given the opportunity to open up an office here in Southern California and kind of given a little bit of free reign of where we were going to end up, as I'm from Southern California and I was, I guess, the leading expert in it as far as the firm goes. So ended up here in Long Beach because I just kept coming back to everything about it being the right place for us. And a couple years later, it definitely turned out to be. Our office focuses primarily on grocery and commercial projects, but firm-wide we do multifamily, industrial, and hospitality as well. And we're currently looking to expand into some new markets in senior living, which is really close to that multifamily market, as well as moving into more civic work. We have a lot of people that have a lot of experience in that area and would really like to start connecting with our communities in a real architectural way and giving back in that capacity.
Cool. So let's go back in that little story. So that way now everybody knows where you're at. So you're here in San Francisco, you're working for this firm and they go, hey, let's open up in Southern California somewhere. And they kind of, and they kind of gave you free reign, as you said, to kind of pick and choose. Where did you start that process? Like, where did you say, is it San Diego? Is it Riverside? Is it LA, Culver City? Like, how did you go through this process to narrow down Long Beach as your home?
Tried to make it as analytical as possible because, I mean, there's a lot of emotion that goes into where you're going to live. So, looking at where a lot of our projects were and then access to talent. So, one of the struggles with our San Francisco office was just maintaining talent and then finding talent because there just wasn't a large pool of schools up there. So, one of the best parts of moving to Southern California is we have 5 or 6 accredited architecture programs nearby. So, a lot of people to pull from. We are also looking at being able to pull talent from multiple communities. If we went too far south into Orange County, we would only have people in Orange County. If we went too far north into LA, we'd only have people in LA, and then we want to kind of cross that divide. So Long Beach became this like very centralized location for easy access for helping the rest of the firm, easy access to pulling in talent that isn't just regionalized to just Long Beach. And then also kind of a centralized access to a lot of architecture schools in the area. So it wasn't like a too far of a pull for someone to see themselves live here. And then the final bit of that was seeing affordability and opportunity, which sounds insane to most people, to live alone. Because coming from San Francisco, that just was not on the table. So me and one other person moved down here, and both of us had a dream of living alone and having washer and dryer in unit. And both of us got that dream right off the bat. And you would think we won the lottery. So just seeing it as a place people could grow and start their lives and develop their lives and maintain long-term talent became affording to live somewhere becomes a really critical part of that. So that's kind of how we ended up here. Was that was the baseline of the research, and then we came to visit, and me and my CEO came down for several days and just went to a bunch of different locations that we thought might be a good spot. both of us are just like, but like Long Beach is so much better. And it's like the texture of all the architecture, you felt creative stepping out of our hotels, like, okay, not everything's the same. There was local restaurants, there was places to go and get a drink, there was a place to go and have lunch, there was a place to just walk around and see different things that were happening, all murals, all that kind of kept drawing us back in. And if you're going to be in a creative field, you should feel inspired when you walk outside your door. So that's how we ended up downtown, and still feel every time I walk outside, it's like, oh, wow, I didn't know that was there. Look at that. Look at this piece of art. Look at this. So definitely feels like the right place. I'm glad we chose here.
We talk about workforce development a lot here, not necessarily just in architecture. As a matter of fact, this is the first time I'm talking about workforce development in architecture. We talk a lot about it in business economies. We talk about a lot with Space Beach, and the things that we're doing with all of the aerospace companies and all of the airlines and stuff like that we're doing. So you mentioned earlier that there were a lot of schools that you can pull from that focus in on architecture. That's kind of making Long Beach this hub. Where are those schools located, and how is that? What kind of importance did that play um, in choosing Long Beach? I guess to say this is where it is in that workforce development mode.
So we have a lot of intentionality about connecting with schools because it's important. I mean, architecture is a practice of apprenticeship. So making connections with people while they're in school helps them see the other side of the game of real world architecture and finding internships and all of that. And we do at least one intern during the summer every year, and then always like to hire a new grad. Proximity was obviously incredibly important. So we have people from both Cal Poly, so Cal Poly Pomona, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. We've had someone from USC. We haven't gotten anybody from UCLA yet, but I've been to their career fairs. There's a lot of really great talent there. There's SciArc, there's Cal Baptist University, there's Woodbury, and I'm sure I'm missing one or two more, but there is quite a few. And then Long Beach State has an interior design program and a design program. So there is also kind of that tangential um, degree that could lead into a career in architecture. Just a little, there's a lot of routes to becoming an architect, and that can be one of them. So even down the street, there's opportunity there as well.
I love what you said earlier, just about San Francisco. Always living with roommates because the pricing is so high. Long Beach is great and attractive where I can live alone and in unit washer dryer.
Yeah,
That's
the dream.
sometimes and sometimes when you think about comparing us to a Los Angeles or even a Culver City or even Santa Monica or something like that, yeah, it gets pricey fast, and you have to give up a lot of amenities to be able to find affordable housing up in those areas.
Yeah. And I was able to buy a house 2 years ago, 3 years ago, which is incredible, which was never going to be an opportunity in San Francisco. But I live in the Wrigley neighborhood, and even there, like all the buildings are different, all the houses are different. There's multifamily, there's single family, there's tiny houses, there's bigger houses. Like just the complexity of that neighborhood was like what really drew me in. And now it's like 2 miles from work, which you can't get much better than that. But there's always like all over Long Beach, there's these tiny micro communities of like different socioeconomic classes, different types of people, different people from different backgrounds, people from Long Beach their whole life, people from all over the place, and they just all come together and create this like beautiful tapestry of people. And I think that's one of my favorite bits about living in Long Beach is just everywhere you go is just a little bit different, and everybody loves it here. Like I've never met someone that's like, yeah, I live in Long Beach, I don't like it. It's like, what? Everyone's like, yeah, Long Beach is the best. Like there's just so much enthusiasm and pride of people that do live here.
Well, I absolutely love hearing that because, we look at businesses, we see a lot of businesses that come up from Long Beach, but being able to say we're going to invest in Long Beach, especially on your scale, we see it a lot on the bigger scales. We make these big announcements about big companies investing, but it's great to see you and your company say, let's figure out what the best is for us. Let's not
Mhm.
just say we're going here because of this. Let's look at the big picture and let's narrow it down until you just know, anyone who's ever rented an apartment or bought a house, you kind of walk into it and you go, no, it's not right. It's hard to put a tangible thing on it. Sometimes you just walk in and you go like, this is it. It just feels right. So it sounds like what you've done. And I really am like inspired by the path that you took, because you've been with BRR architecture for a while now. You moved your way up to the ranks, and then to a point to where they say, hey, Jenna, we want you to go open a whole new location. That must have been exciting for you. How did that come about?
So one of my absolute favorite parts about BRR is there's just always opportunity. It's that, and my insatiable curiosity is always met with more information. So I was 7 years out of school when the opportunity came up, and it kind of seemed like it half started with a joke, but it had been something that BR had been looking for a long time to open up a more permanent location down in Southern California. We always had a person down here because we have so many projects in Southern California that we needed someone to aid with dropping off permits, doing site observations, doing surveys, doing basically supporting the rest of the company in all of our projects that are down here. And then it just became more apparent with time that having a presence down here made more sense than not having a presence down here. So knowing that I was from here and I have more confidence than I probably deserve sometimes, they thought that I might be willing to do it, and I was like, "You know what? That sounds amazing." I talked to several people in my company that had done the same, so all of our offices are opened by people that worked for BR that relocated to do it. So talked to all of my colleagues in that regard, like, was this as amazing as they're making it sound? And everyone was like, it's the hardest thing and the best thing you'll ever do with your life. And professionally, obviously family is amazing, but professionally, this is hands down the best thing I've ever done. And when multiple people tell you that, you really just kind of have to take a chance on yourself that you'll have the support you need to open up an office and figure out what you need to get it done. Knowing that someone has been down that path before, maybe in a little bit of a different way, but um, that they've done it, so you can probably do it too. And then decided to go for it. I have an incredibly supportive husband that was like, "Yeah, I guess so. Let's do it." Like, what's the worst case scenario here? And I was like, "I guess failure, but I wouldn't be able to sit with that." So just the determination to make sure that it gets done. Um, and we've grown up to 10 people now. We're still hiring and still have so much work to do. So um, it's going very well.
So how long were you with BRR architecture in the Bay Area before they came to you and said, hey, Jenna, let's open up Long Beach, or let's open up Southern California?
7 years, so not very long, and this was my first job, like, first big kid job, if you will, out of college. So, I was licensed for 3 or 4 years at that point, was running my own client, and doing a lot of projects all at once with a small team, so it wasn't like, "Oh, you seem cool, let's do this." There was some strategy behind it. We're a very strategic company, but, um, saw they saw the potential that I would be able to do it with what I'd been doing with the client I've been managing, so afforded me the opportunity, and I took it and ran.
Right. That's fantastic. So you opened the office, you said, with 10 employees in 2022, I think it was?
It was just 2 of us, so
Or two.
me and one
Okay.
other person moved from San Francisco down
Okay.
here.
And
So
now you're up to 10
now
employees.
we're up to 10, yeah. We actually were in the WeWork space. We're in the hub building, so we're in the WeWork space on the other side of the building for almost a year, and it really makes you grateful for space when you move out of that to a full size office with room for 18. We were just beside ourselves excited to have like a permanent space, have a permanent home here, and then have space to move around, which was the real big one because that tiny little room was
Yeah.
really getting to us. So, yeah, we love the hub building. So that's why we ended up here. It's just so centralized, everything downtown, and easy access to 7-Eleven to go get a Diet Coke at lunch or whatever, so yeah.
Now, the 8 people that you brought on since you opened this facility in 2022, were they already Long Beach people, or did they come in from some of these other areas and some of these other schools that you mentioned earlier?
A combination of all of that. So, we've have, someone that transferred from our Kansas City location. Uh, she moved pretty early on, and then we have 2 people from Cal Poly Pomona, We have a person from Arizona. We have a person from Cali, San Luis Obispo. We have been able to hire some people with experience, so uh, which is very difficult to do in the architecture field, to get someone to transition out of what they're currently doing into a new role is tough. So having that success has been a huge feather in our cap. But yeah, all over. Like it has not been like a steady stream from one location. And then we do have about half the office that actually lives in Long Beach, and then everybody lives either in Orange County or LA. So really that funnel effect that I was talking about earlier, being able to pull from different markets for that talent, um, is working.
It must be it must have been difficult to kind of create a culture when you're part of a larger firm, but now you get control of this Long Beach location and you're bringing in people from Arizona, from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, from Kansas City. I mean, I'm sure they just love being out here, plus the whole uniqueness of Long Beach. Let's talk about how you develop your culture. What kind of vision did you have for how you wanted your office to?
So at its base, architecture is a practice of apprenticeship. So it's really important to me to have a collaborative environment where you can turn around and ask anything. I like to tell people, don't bang your head against the same wall someone else has. And the only way to do that is talk about what you're doing, talk about what's going on, talk about your issues you're facing, things you're trying to solve for. So it's really important to me that everybody collaborates on what the work that they're doing, talks about the work that they're doing, which is the sounds and very not as important, but gets along, which is you don't communicate with your coworkers if you don't get along with your coworkers. So making sure we have a diverse group of personalities, but set of personalities that works really well together, and which is when it's flowing, it feels amazing. Like it's electric. You can feel the excitement about the work that we're doing and the excitement around learning. And just, I mean, I learn things from people every day. And that's kind of the best part of architecture. So, um, yeah, it was very, very focused on collaboration. And then as more people came on, it's something that we all very much intentionally talk about of like, what do we want this office environment to be? What do we want our vibe to be? What do we want to get out of our day to day? What's going to fulfill us in our careers? And how can we make this office environment do that? And it honestly changes from day to day. Like Mondays are very quiet, everyone's very focused, everyone is very respectful from that. Tuesdays through Thursdays are a lot more vibrant. Fridays are a little bit more silly and still on the quieter side with just like a little bit more random conversation just because it is Friday. But even like the ebbs and flows of that culture throughout the week and like the rhythm that we've gotten in as a group has been really incredible to be part of that and to help build that and be set the intention behind it of creating a space for people to learn and develop in their careers through that collaboration.
So it sounds like you guys are 100% in person. You're not doing a hybrid schedule or a remote work situation.
We do hybrid. So we have the opportunity to work up to 2 days from home a week. So, and you don't have to, you can if you want to. It is really up to you. I'm a full in person all the time person. I like the separation. I have a really nice large monitor here, so it just makes my life easier. We have some people that are very consistent about having those 2 days from home, and then others that kind of ebb and flow based on what they're working on or if they just need to lock in and not have collaboration happening around them. They might work at home or they might go into a smaller office or whatever they really need. But we do have a definite spike in person during Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and a little bit smaller groups on Monday and Friday.
Yeah. So it must have been challenging or interesting. You're in the architecture business. You design spaces for a living. So did you have any sort of specific approach about how you wanted to design your office and what you were looking for and the kind of layout and format or floor plan that you wanted to see that coincides with the culture you were trying to build?
So, as an architect, I genuinely believe the space that you're in dictate how you function. So, one thing that's really big even now about the space is as we evolve the way that we work, the space has to evolve with us. So, I am We move desks pretty frequently. I'm like, okay, you're working with this person, that person. We'll move desk around. We'll change out technology. We have two smaller conference rooms, and they just weren't getting used. So we kind of had a chat. I'm like, what would it take for you to use these rooms when this is empty space that we're not utilizing? We don't have that big of an office. It seems like a waste. What can we do to change the way that we're using our space? And so through that, we had currently been taking a new approach to quality, and we needed a space to be able to do that. So we transformed those. So in the initial was like, okay, what would my ideal scenario be? What did I like about San Francisco? What did I not like about that office? What did I wish I had? What all those kind of design criteria that I put together, talked to all of our other offices to see what they loved and didn't like about their spaces. So really just a lot of internal research and then external research about what we could do. And then thinking about how the space could grow with us with time, and how we can utilize spaces for more than one thing. I always do. I have a small kitchen, so I have a rule. If it only does one thing, it's not going to be in the kitchen. So every utensil, everything has to have two purposes. And I kind of take the same approach to the office. I'm like, okay, if we're going to have this like or this large table for breaks or for lunch, what else can we use it for? Can we use it for plan review? Can we use it for workshopping something? Can we use it for meetings? Can we use it for what can we use these space for? And then the whole office becomes a lot more dynamic by doing that, because the space is kind of ebbing and flowing with the needs. Nothing becomes static. And then everybody feels not entitled, but encouraged to move things around as needed and work the space the way it needs to work. So, um, yeah, that's always been my approach to it. Is like, this is not a static space. This is the space we need it to be to do the best work we can.
We've been talking with Jenna Markley. She is the principal of BRR Architecture here in Long Beach. They swiped her out of San Francisco and said, hey, Jenna, we want you to build something great for us in Southern California. And she picked Long Beach. She picked the offices. She did all this after only being on the job, what you said, 7 years at BRR
Yeah.
before, So
Yeah.
that is a lot of progress in a short amount of time, which is very, very, I mean, it's exciting. I'm so happy for you and so excited for you too, because let's check back in 7 years and see what you're doing again. But I just have this question, I just was wondering if somebody's listening to this or watching this and they're going like, wow, that's so inspiring. I want to do that someday. I want to be that person. I want to be able to have a story like this. What kind of advice would you give to someone looking to do what you've done and advance their career or take their career to that next level?
There's two things that always kind of stick out to me is take a chance on yourself. If you're not going to, who's going to? So like believing in yourself, knowing that you can do something, taking a risk on your skill set, your abilities, I think is what's going to get you the furthest in life. And then be a goal setter. Like sit down and really think about what you want to do. We like to use the phrase a goal without a plan is just a wish. I think is the direct quote, but and we're very big on that here, and that's kind of why I found BRR home was because they could match my goal setting persistence. We talk about it. It's very 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 much part of our culture. But I had very strong goals coming out of schools. Like I want to be a principal. So like day one, brand new person, don't know how to draw a set of construction documents, and was like, okay, I'm going to be running this at one point in time. And it still feels insane that in my head that that's what my plan was. Like directly out of school, but I'm like, you know what, if I don't believe I can do it, then who's going to believe I can do it? So really formulated my long-term short-term goals around what that would look like. There was constant like checking in, was like, is this actually what I want to do? Because you have an idealized version of what positions really mean, and just checking in to make sure that that was the path I wanted to go down. And same thing with becoming licensed. I don't know if you know how much it takes to get licensed as an architect, but it's when I was taking it, it was 7 tests plus a California test plus 3,500 hours of internship in very specific categories, plus a master's degree. I went the master's degree, but some sort of professional degree on top of that. So there's just a lot that you need to do to become just licensed. Same thing with that. It's like, yeah, this is just a given. I'm going to become licensed. So setting those goals and just not just going for it, just accepting that that's what it's going to be, that not giving yourself the opportunity to question it, um, I think has really sent me the furthest in my career. Is just, this is a given. This is what we're doing. This is how we're going to do it. And just going down that path. There's been so much help along the way, like so much mentorship, so much help, so many people that have helped shape the architect and leader that I am. That I think that is also a critical part. Making sure that you're finding those people that positively influence you both professionally and personally, and support you through those types of decisions. Like that here, yeah, I'm going to be a principal on day one and go, okay, how are we going to get there? Versus like, you're insane. Like those are two very different people. So making sure you have those right people in your life, because that really makes a huge difference as well.
Goal without a plan is
It's
just a
just a
wish.
wish.
It's
Hmm.
just a wish. That if I
Yeah.
think that there's any takeaway here, I think that that's what resonated with me. I think it resonates with a lot of people as well, because you always talk about goal setting, but there's never been like, okay, you set a goal, and a lot of times if you don't reach it, you just go, whatever. I wasn't going to do that
Yeah.
anyways, you know.
Yeah. It's really easy to talk yourself out of it if there isn't a plan in place. So, big fan of SMART goals, very easy to follow. And then I actually do a goal setting presentation for the company. That's how much I'm into goals. But we I always tell everybody, like, format a goal the way your brain works, the way you function, the way you process information. The way I do it is not going to work for everybody. The way you do it isn't going to work for everybody either. So if you have a massive goal or a small goal or somewhere in between, break it down into pieces that are digestible for you, that are easy to like really focus on and achieve. There's so many ways to formulate that goal, but it all comes back to needing a plan to do it and making sure that you're servicing those goals and the actions that you're taking on a daily basis. Really big goals don't happen overnight, they happen with small decisions every day. So, really focusing on how what you're doing today can impact you 3, 4 years from now, really makes a big difference. And having goals that have those plans in place makes it a lot easier to process, because you go, I want to do this in 10 years. It's really hard to wrap your head around. But if you go, I want to do this in 10 years, here's my yearly plan, that all of a sudden becomes a lot more attainable, a lot easier to latch onto, and feels a lot easier. Like it doesn't feel as daunting if it gets broken down into those small pieces.
We've been talking with Jenna Markley with BRR Architecture's principal here at the Long Beach office. Your story is just so inspiring, and it's just great to have you here in Long Beach. Really excited to have you part of the chamber. If people are listening to this and they want to get a hold of you, if they want to reach out to you about something, what's the best way for them to do that?
My email address is on the website, but it is also Jenna, Jenna .Markley, Markley at BRRArch.com. Our website is BRRArch.com. And there's a link to our specific office there.
Jenna, thanks so much for joining us today on The Catalyst. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off here?
No, I just really appreciate you having me, and I absolutely love living and working in Long Beach. I always feel like anytime someone asks, it's just my very long love letter to Long Beach. So I appreciate being here.
You got it. Thank you, Jenna, for joining us today. And check out BRR Architectures, brrarch.com, and you can find Jenna there. Thanks so much for joining us. Jenna, thank you again for being on the show. And everyone else, we will catch you in the next episode. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you.